On the evening of October 11th, 2015, a quiet night out at the Rebar in Eastcote, northwest London, turned into a horrific tragedy when 21-year-old Josh Hanson was brutally murdered. The assailant, Shane O'Brien, would soon become one of Europe's most wanted fugitives, sparking a global manhunt that lasted almost 4 years. The murder was not only a profound loss for Josh Hanson's family and friends, but also left a lasting scar on the local community. Welcome back to Crime Chronicles. Stay tuned as we look at the events that unfolded that night and in the years that followed, which drew attention from international authorities, capturing the chilling story of how a young man lost his life to senseless violence and how his killer attempted to evade justice. Josh Hanson was enjoying a night out with friends at Rebar, a popular spot in Eastcote. The 21-year-old worked as a road planner and was known for his kind nature and close-knit relationship with his family. On the evening of his death, Josh was standing at the bar with his girlfriend when Shane O'Brien, a man he had no known prior connection to, approached him. Without any provocation or warning, O'Brien pulled out a blade and slashed Josh across the neck, leaving him with a horrific wound. Witnesses described the attack as sudden, random, and utterly unprovoked. Paramedics were called to the scene, but despite their efforts, Josh Hanson was pronounced dead shortly after the attack. His injuries were too severe to survive. The brutal nature of the attack shocked witnesses, friends, and family as they struggled to comprehend why such a horrific crime had occurred with no apparent motive. In the immediate aftermath of the murder, Shane O'Brien fled the scene, vanishing from London and initiating a lengthy and complicated international manhunt. O'Brien was not an unknown figure to law enforcement. He had a history of violence and criminal activity and was considered dangerous. However, the swiftness of his escape and the extent of his ability to evade capture surprised even seasoned investigators. O'Brien's flight from justice was meticulously planned. With connections to the criminal underworld, he was able to use false identities and forged documents to leave the UK. In the days following the murder, O'Brien flew to the Netherlands in a private plane provided by criminal associates. From there, he travelled across Europe, changing his appearance multiple times in an attempt to evade capture. He grew his hair long, grew a beard, and later underwent cosmetic surgery to alter his facial appearance. Interpol issued a red notice for O'Brien, which is the closest equivalent to an international arrest warrant. His name and face were circulated across Europe, and he was officially labelled one of the continent's most wanted fugitives. Despite the immense resources dedicated to tracking him down, O'Brien managed to remain at large for nearly 4 years, moving from country to country, often under the radar of local authorities. While the international manhunt was underway, Josh Hanson's family, particularly his mother Tracy Hanson, worked tirelessly to keep the case in the public eye. Tracy channeled her grief into action, campaigning for justice for her son and raising awareness about the case. She set up the Josh Hanson Trust, a charity aimed at helping victims of violent crime and their families. Through her efforts, the public was reminded that behind the global search was a grieving family, desperate for closure and justice. Tracy's determination was unwavering, and she made numerous public appeals for information about O'Brien's whereabouts. Her strength and dedication became a symbol of resilience for other victims' families. As the years passed, the Hansons' fight for justice became intertwined with the story of the international manhunt, both representing the long, painful road toward holding Shane O'Brien accountable. While O'Brien was a fugitive, he had several close calls with law enforcement. In 2017, he was arrested in Prague in the Czech Republic for assaulting another man in a bar fight. However, due to his false identification papers, Czech authorities did not realize they had detained one of Europe's most wanted men, and he was released before they could make the connection. This failure highlighted the complexity of capturing a fugitive who had the resources and cunning to remain hidden and alter his identity at will. O'Brien spent time in countries like Germany, Belgium, and Dubai, often blending into local criminal networks. He changed his appearance drastically, shaving his head, growing a beard, and even undergoing plastic surgery to evade detection. These tactics kept him on the move and out of the grasp of police for years, but the net around him was slowly tightened. In March of 2018, authorities released new photos of O'Brien, showing his altered appearance. This was a crucial step in renewing public awareness about the case, as the updated images depicted a man who looked very different from the initial photos circulated in 2015. Despite these efforts, it would still take another year before O'Brien was finally caught. On March 23rd of 2019, after nearly 4 years on the run, Shane O'Brien was finally arrested in Romania. His capture came as a result of intelligence sharing between several European law enforcement agencies, which had been working together for years to track his movements. O'Brien had been living in a rented apartment in Cluj-Napoca, a city in Romania, under yet another false identity. His arrest was a significant relief to Josh Hanson's family, who had spent years campaigning for his capture. Tracy Hanson, in particular, expressed her overwhelming sense of gratitude to everyone involved in the manhunt. However, the capture was only the beginning of the legal process. O'Brien was extradited to the UK to face trial for Josh Hanson's murder. In October of 2019, Shane O'Brien stood trial at the Old Bailey in London, charged with the murder of Josh Hanson. During the trial, the prosecution presented overwhelming evidence against O'Brien, including witness testimonies and CCTV footage from Rebar that showed the moments leading up to the attack. O'Brien's defense team attempted to argue that he had not intended to kill Josh and that the attack had been a moment of madness. However, the nature of the attack, particularly the use of a blade to slash Josh's neck, made it clear to the jury that this was a deliberate and calculated act of violence. On October 1st of 2019, Shane O'Brien was found guilty of murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, with a minimum term of 26 years before being eligible for parole. The sentencing marked the end of a long and painful journey for Josh Hanson's family, who had fought relentlessly for justice. The courtroom was filled with emotion as the verdict was read, with many expressing relief that O'Brien would finally face the consequences of his actions. The murder of Josh Hanson and the international manhunt for Shane O'Brien left a lasting impact not only on the Hanson family, but also on law enforcement agencies across Europe. The case highlighted the challenges of tracking fugitives who have access to significant resources and are skilled at using false identities. It also underscored the importance of international cooperation in apprehending dangerous criminals. In the years since O'Brien's conviction, the case has served as a sobering reminder of the random and senseless nature of violence, as well as the enduring strength of a family determined to seek justice. Though the events of that fateful night in October of 2015 will never be forgotten, Josh Hanson's legacy continues to inspire others, and his memory lives on through the work of those who loved him most. Thank you for joining us today on Crime Chronicles. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the channel with your friends.